In this presentation, you're going to learn about the plant kingdom. Don't try and take notes. When you finish, you will go to Nearpod and take closed notes from there. Every living thing needs energy, and where do we get our energy? We eat. So from the food we eat, we get energy. And a lot of times we eat plants. So when you eat a carrot or an apple or a salad, plants are giving you, the living thing, energy. Plants are called producers because they produce glucose or sugar. That's how they get their energy, by breaking down that glucose that they made. This drawing is of the energy pyramid. And if you look at it, you see that plants are at the bottom or at the base. And remember, we have two words that we've been using for plants: producers, because they produce their own food, and autotrophs, because they automatically produce their own food. And there at the bottom, and notice at the bottom is the largest. And whenever we look at the energy in a food chain or a food web, producers always are at the bottom. They always start that food chain or food web, well, after the sun, because they need the sun to make food. Then, as we move up the pyramid, we come to the primary consumers. Primary means first. So these are our first consumers after the producers. So the giraffes are going to eat the plants. So they're the first ones that are eating the producers. Then as we move further up, the lion eats the giraffes. They are the secondary consumers. So as we move up the energy pyramid, as we go up, the energy flows this way. So as the giraffes eat the plants or producers, they get their energy. And as the lions eat the giraffes, they get their energy. So the energy is always moving up the pyramid, and it gets less and less as you move up. So the giraffes have to eat more than the plants produce, because the plants have the most energy. Then as the lions eat the giraffes, they have to eat a lot more to get that same amount of energy, because the energy is always reducing as you move up. So this is the energy that is reducing as you move up the pyramid. It gets less and less. Here we have the most energy, and here we have the least. To grow, plants need light, water, gases, and the nutrients that they get from the soil, all so they can complete photosynthesis, which is how they produce food or glucose and sugar. Plants have a lot of parts, but they have three main parts that we're going to look at. They have the roots, the stem, and the leaves. What we're really going to be focusing on are the leaves, because that's where photosynthesis takes place. And if you remember, that's where the chloroplasts are, and the chlorophyll, where photosynthesis is going to happen. If we look at the function of the roots, why plants have roots, one is to anchor and support that plant in the ground. So as you can see, these roots would go into the soil and spread out, so in a harsh wind, that plant wouldn't fall over. And if you look right here, you can see all the little hairs that are also hanging on, and also help it absorb water and minerals. It also helps hold the soil in place. So for example, one of my houses is on a canal, and we started to lose the land, so we planted a lot of plants along the water line so the land would stop washing away and all those roots would hold that soil in place. There are two different kinds of root types that we're going to look at, and those are fibrous roots and tap roots. The tap roots are like carrots and trees and dandelions, and their roots have to go really far down into the ground to reach the water sources and all those minerals. Fibrous roots spread out and are much more shallow. They're holding that soil in place to prevent soil erosion, which, as you remember from last year, means the washing away of the soil. If we look at the root hairs here, you can see that it increases the surface area of that root with all those little hairs so it can absorb more water and minerals. Here you see the meristem. This is where all the new cells are produced, and this root cap here that protects the tip of that growing root. Look up here and you can see the phloem and the xylem, and these are the little tubes that use capillary action. It sucks up the water and the minerals and food for the plant. Remember when I brought the celery in and we put it in food coloring, and you could watch the food coloring go from the water up through the plant and into the leaves, and that was by the xylem. Stems have several functions for the plant. They support the whole body of the plant. They transport the waters and nutrients up from the roots that goes up through the stems and into the leaves. And the stems hold the leaves and branches upright. If you look at this picture right here, you can see where they had cut the stem in half. And each of these rings represents a year in the life of the tree. And you can tell where it had the most rain or where they had drought, where it didn't rain and the tree didn't grow as well. So you can see right here where it's very narrow, that would be where they had drought. Here you can see where they had lots of rain and the tree grew really well. Leaves are one of the most important parts of a plant because that's where photosynthesis takes place. That's where the sunlight's going to enter the leaf. There are systems to prevent water loss and to get the water in. The little openings inside the leaf are called stomata. They open in the day and then close at night or when it's hot so it can keep the water inside the plant. It conserves that water, keeping it inside so it can use it and doesn't dry out. Some plants have a waxy cuticle on the surface, so when you feel them, you can feel that wax, and that wax helps to keep the water inside. The stomata also helps gas exchange, so it allows the carbon dioxide in and the oxygen, which is the waste, out of the leaf. And we, as humans, use the plant's waste for us to breathe in, just as we have carbon dioxide that we breathe out that the plant needs for photosynthesis. Here's a cross-section of a leaf. Here you can see the waxy surface that's called the cuticle. Here are the veins in the leaf that allows the transport of the water and the nutrients. Here's the stoma. There's a stoma, there's a stoma. The stomata are the opening that allows the water, carbon dioxide, and oxygen inside and out of the leaf. And surrounding the stoma are these guard cells. They're the ones that can open the stoma in the daytime and then close them at night to conserve the water. One of the most important parts of a leaf is this mesophyll layer because it contains the chloroplasts. And the chloroplasts are where photosynthesis takes place. That's where the plant makes its own food so it can get energy. Here's a picture of two stoma. Here is one that is open. You can see the opening right here, and this one is closed. And around it, these are the guard cells that are going to open and close it depending on whether the plant needs to conserve its water or not. So remember that stoma or stomata is for gas exchange, and the gases are the oxygen and carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide goes in to help through the process of photosynthesis, and it releases the oxygen as the waste of photosynthesis. Here's the stoma, that's the opening, and here are the guard cells that control the opening and closing of the stoma. Here we're going to look at the function of the stomata. The stomata is the plural for stoma. So when you look at all the stoma, it's stomata. Here we're looking at one stoma. What process involves using carbon dioxide and water as the raw materials and releasing oxygen as a waste product? If you said photosynthesis, you're right. And what is the plant using photosynthesis to make? Glucose or sugar. Beautiful. All right, look here at the stoma. What goes in? What is gas is going in? We got two things going in and two things going out. Here's one going in, carbon dioxide, and the opening where it's going into. Here, water is coming out, and water goes into the plant up through the roots and the stem. And oxygen is going out. And what are these cells around the opening or the stoma called? If you said guard cells, you're correct. Here we're going to look at the guard cells. And these are the cells around the opening. And remember, the opening is called the stoma. These stomata, or the leaf openings, allow water to evaporate out. So why would the plant close the stomata with the guard cells? Because when it gets very hot or at nighttime, that prevents the excess water loss through transpiration. Transpiration is when water leaves the plant. So what's the point of having a stomata? To allow gas exchange for photosynthesis. So here we're going to look at transpiration a little more in depth. Though transpiration is the loss of excess water from the plant leaves. So all of these arrows are showing water leaving the leaf. Here the water comes up through the roots, up the stem, and into the plant so photosynthesis can take place. So as the water leaves the plant, it pulls that water and nutrients up the roots into the stem and into the leaf so photosynthesis can take place. And because of the water cycle, the trees transpire that water back into the atmosphere. This was the first video presentation on the introduction of the plant kingdom. Now go and watch part 2 of the plant kingdom.